I too would like to thank the faculty for giving me this distinct honor to speak on behalf of my classmates here tonight. I feel kind of ashamed that I am graduating with an MDiv and I don't have a thesis and I don't have any points. But I do have an illustration, so hopefully that'll make up for it. So I'd like you to imagine with me for a moment that you had a parent that worked in a baseball organization. And being a child with such parents, you had some perks. You were able to go to the baseball stadium anytime you wanted, run around the bases, play in the clubhouse, walk in the broadcaster's booth. That baseball field and that stadium would be your playground. But what if you never saw that stadium or that field do what it was designed to do, to hold a baseball game? Every time you went to that stadium, it was maybe the off season, or there just wasn't a game that was being played. You saw many of the players maybe practicing or working out, but you never saw them play the game of baseball. You knew the team was really good, just never saw them play. But then imagine after 20 years, you actually were able to come to the stadium, sit down, and see that field do what it was designed to do, to play a baseball game. What an amazing experience that would be for you. That story in many ways explains my relationship with Westminster Seminary. Since the age of 6, the seminary was my playground. I walked through the front doors. I walked through the front doors of the administration building when it was still being built. I saw this chapel and I saw the classroom buildings being raised. I mowed the lawns. I pulled network cable through Faculty Row. I put magnetic strips in hundreds, if not thousands, of the books in the library. I even spent the night here trying to stop vandals. However, it was only 4.5 years ago that I actually saw the seminary do what it was designed to do. Train men for the pastorate and train men and women for other areas of ministry. Needless to say, that day, visiting campus as a prospective student was a surreal experience. I still remember that day vividly. Students were walking around the campus. Classrooms were filled. Dr. Estelle was throwing the monkey around Hebrew 1. Dr. Horton was talking about the Cappadocian Fathers in an HT seminar. Dr. Van Drunen was going over the Roman doctrine of congruent and condign merit and doctrine of the Holy Spirit. And yes, Dr. Clark took me to lunch at the Wrangler. Here I was, finally seeing Westminster do its job, and I couldn't wait to be a part of it. Now, maybe your first visit to campus wasn't as surreal or emotional as mine, but I'm sure that every single one of you have had those emotional times here on campus. Maybe it was coming out of Hebrew and Greek, wondering what you got yourself into. Perhaps it was walking out of a class where your mind literally exploded. But yet you had a smile on your face because you knew what you had just received was pure gold. Maybe it was because you were thrown down to your knees in prayer after meditating on the greatness of our God and what His Son accomplished for us. Or maybe tears came to your eyes when you heard the gospel faithfully proclaimed from your professors in chapel, from 1 Thessalonians, 1 Kings, Hosea, 1 Corinthians, or Genesis 3. And I'm sure you can add to this list many of your memories. During the first couple of weeks of Greek 1, a number of us were talking about why we came to Westminster. For me, there was no question as to where I was going to go. But some of my classmates did look around and visit other schools. I still remember one of my classmates telling me the moment his decision was made. It was when Dr. Godfrey told him something he didn't hear from any of the other seminaries he visited. Dr. Godfrey told him, at Westminster, we train pastors to preach the gospel. And I'm confident that I speak for all the MDiv students that are graduating tomorrow, that we were trained for that task. and trained hard. Of course, there will be a lot of things that we were not prepared for going into the pastorate, things that cannot be taught in any seminary or classroom. But one thing is for sure. We were trained to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ from all the scriptures. No matter what professor that was or what class we were in, that was the goal, to placard Jesus Christ. For that commitment by our faculty, I am eternally grateful. I am confident in saying that this is a special place. And by God's grace, it will continue to be so. The godliness, humility, integrity, and honesty of our professors is something I will never forget, because it has made such an impact on who I am and I hope to be as a minister of the gospel. Seeing the interactions among the faculty members as they work to support and defend their fellow colleagues is a model that I hope to emulate in my relationships. They take their theology seriously, but not themselves. Being around this campus for longer than 25 years, I will always cherish this place, and Lord willing, I will visit often. And as I go out to be an ambassador of Jesus Christ in his world, along with my brothers here, I'm certain that the truths we were taught over the last 4 years of my career here will be a well from which I will draw constantly as I shepherd those sheep that God has entrusted to my care. And I'm sure you all have certain Bible passages that have meant a lot to you through your lives, or maybe just through your seminary career. I'm going to close with a passage that I hope will be at the forefront of my mind and my brothers' minds as we do the Lord's work in his church for the years to come. It's from the Apostle Paul to the young pastor Timothy. Preach the word, be ready in season and out of season, reprove, rebuke, and exhort, with complete patience and teaching. For the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into myths. As for you, always be sober-minded, endure suffering, do the work of an evangelist, fulfill your ministry. By God's grace, may we fulfill that ministry for God's glory alone, using all that we have been blessed with here. Thank you.